Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Please excuse my hair and my setup. I was in the mood to film today and I was like, you know what? I don't feel like waiting for my hair to dry. I don't feel like worrying all that much. I have yet to talk about my favorite books of 2021 and I want to do that today. So that's what we're doing today. A very, very late favorite books of 2021. I've already talked about my most disappointing books of the year. I will link that video down below if you have not seen it. But today is all positivity and all books that I really loved. These will not be ranked. It was already hard enough to pick my list. I have about a dozen books to talk about today, and I could not possibly rank them on top of already narrowing down my favorites, but I'm just gonna grab and I'm gonna talk about them. I'm gonna quickly talk about two books that did not make the top 12, but I wanted to give honorable mentions because I did really enjoy them. And those are both of Lucy Foley's books, The Guest List and The Hunting Party. I read both of these this year, or last year, obviously, and enjoyed them a lot. I think they both were solid 4 stars for me, and I think about this one quite a bit, but then I was like thinking that this was my favorite, and then I was considering it, and this has some moments that have just stuck with me. The atmosphere Lucy Foley creates is just incredible. The locked door, who could it be? It can only be this group of people. Great. The connections she makes among her characters and the twists that she adds in are incredible. I have enjoyed both of these a lot this year. Not quite top 12, but I can't wait for her new one. I'm still gonna do a most anticipated of 2022, even though we're over a month into 2022. But it's fun. All right, next up, we're gonna talk about a book that I don't have with me because I checked it out from the library, and that is They Never Learn by Elaine Fargo. Oh, this was one of my first like full favorites of the year. I read it and was just so shocked. It was a Literally Dead book club pick, and I did not know anything about it at all. I just checked it out because Kayla told me to. And I was immediately obsessed. It is about a college professor who is getting revenge on men at her university that she feels has wronged women, whether they have sexually assaulted women or done other things. Professors who have taken advantage of students, things like that. And it's incredible. I am not a man-hater, I don't think. But this book is just perfection. It is truly just like, yes, they deserve it. Yes, you should be tortured and killed for what you did. Sorry. It's amazing when the justice system fails. This woman comes in and is like, don't worry about it, I got you. We're also following a different timeline of a student named Carly, and her friend is going through a tough time and she's trying to be there for her. Genuinely so good. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I enjoyed the twists. It was as close to a perfect book as I've read this year. I think it was amazing, and I would highly recommend if you like twisty thrillers and hate seeing rapists go free, read that book. Next up, another book that took me by surprise. This is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I was shocked that I loved this as much as I did. So I always heard about this book. I had never read a V.E. Schwab before. I, own a bunch of Victoria Schwab, have never read one, had heard about this one a million times. This got randomly picked for me because of my Taylor TBR game. And I was like, okay, screw it, let's pick it up. And then I was immediately sucked in. I absolutely loved the historic elements of this. If you haven't heard, this is about Addie LaRue, who makes a deal with a demon so she doesn't have to marry this man she doesn't want to marry. And he basically curses her with immortality, but no one will remember her. The second they look away from her, they forget her. Until one day, someone remembers. It's great. It's so good. I didn't think I was going to get as wrapped up into this as I thought I would. The love story in this I thought was really, really well done. I was rooting for them. I just a big fan. I was kind of surprised because I had mediocre expectations. Obviously, so many people have loved this, but after a while, when those like less positive reviews start trickling in, I was kind of nervous and I was kind of like, maybe I'm gonna fall on the less positive side. Nope, I was so invested in this the whole time. Absolutely loved the writing. I need to read more Victoria Schwab because this was very close to perfect. It was so good. I absolutely loved it. 5 stars. And one of my favorites of the year, obviously. Next up, another book that I don't have with me that is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I freaking love Samantha Downing. She has just blown me away every time. My Lovely Wife was a 5-star. He Started It was a 4-star, close to good. For Your Own Good is up there with My Lovely Wife. So good, 5 stars. This is another academic-based story about a teacher who is doing things to students for their own good. We're following him, we're following other members of the staff, other students, people who have gotten kind of mixed up in his plots, whether it was intentional or not. It's so good. Samantha Downing writes unlikable characters so well, and this was one of my favorites. She just knows how to craft a twisty-ass story that you're like, holy shit, you just did that. I loved it. I read a lot of this on the beach in the summer, and I just remember like laying on the beach being like, oh shit. I loved it so much, and I would highly recommend it. It was a 5-star for me. It's one of my favorite Samantha Downings. I'm gonna have to reread My Lovely Wife to choose which one I like more, but this woman can do no wrong in my eyes so far. Oh god, I say that and then I think of Riley and worry, but I enjoyed the hell out of this. I thought it was really good, really twisty. Just, I didn't know what it was gonna do next, and I loved that. We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry. This was Kayla's favorite book of 2020, and I picked it up because of that. Still in shock about how much I liked this. It is dense. The writing is dense. There's a lot to it. You even look at it and you're like, oh god, it looks like a chore. And when I first started this, I was like, this is gonna take me frickin' ever. I flew through this. This is about a high school field hockey team who is the worst in the league. They are just always horrible. And then one day, one of their team members is like, I'm fucking sick of losing. I'm gonna make a deal with someone and I am gonna make us win. And basically they all tie these little cloths around their arms and they all sign an agreement in this Emilio Estevez journal, and shit starts to happen, but they also start winning. They become incredible, and there are parts of this book that are just like, what the hell is going on? And I loved it. It was the perfect amount of weird for me. There is this girl's hairstyle and basically her bangs are becoming a character in the book. Like he speaks to them telepathically. It's incredible. It's weird as fuck, but it's also amazing. I wrote about this for when I worked at the library, their book blog, and it was really funny because I was like, y'all don't even know what I'm about to recommend you because it's weird, but it's so good and it deserves so much more attention, I would say, just because it's that like new kind of weird that people are really into. It's kind of witchy. It's really fun because it takes place in the 80s and it's just strong hardcore 80s vibes. I mean, I was born in the 90s, but it's just incredible, and I would highly recommend if you've not picked this up. It's so worth it. Next up, we have a book that I read toward the end of last year that actually surprised the hell out of me that I wanted to put this on this list this bad. This is Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey. This is a novella about I believe it's a post-apocalyptic world where it's kind of like a dystopian western, I would say. It's definitely in the more near future, and there is approved reading materials and unapproved reading materials, and you can basically be hung for reading things you're not supposed to, but you can also be hung for being a lesbian, and that is what this girl is. She runs away from her town with the librarians. The librarians work for the state, and they are tasked with bringing approved materials town to town because it's a western and everybody lives really far apart. But these librarians are not what she thinks they are. They're actually LGBTQIA, and they're really fun. They're really like badass women living and fighting to survive in this new world, and I loved it. I wanted more. It was a 4-star just because I was like, oh my god, build this out. It felt a little bit cut short at the end, I would say. She did so much in so few pages, but I definitely wanted a little bit more, but enjoyed the hell out of it. Something I'm shocked to put on this list is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, because even while I was reading it, I was well aware that this was not as good as Evelyn Hugo or Daisy Jones. Well aware of that. I still think this is one of my favorite things I read this year. It was only a 4-star, mostly because of expectation, but I love the way Taylor Jenkins Reid crafts stories. She just makes such believable characters, and I feel like I understand them. I know their motivations. Nothing that they do is like totally out of left field. Everything is well explained, and everything is just done so well. She just writes great books. I loved the flashbacks in this to the 1950s. I loved the party scenes. It's about a group of siblings that have this annual huge party where like you never know who's gonna show up, and they live in Malibu and they're all into surfing, and each sibling has like their own secrets and their own stuff going on, but we're also getting the flashbacks to the 50s of their parents and what happened between them. Just so good. I really liked it. The cameos in this were really fun. Still a 4-star, because if you're going to start anywhere, start with Evelyn Hugo, start with Daisy Jones, or start here and then go up. Still, she's an incredible storyteller, and I will put her on this list because I still enjoyed the hell out of this, mostly because I was surprised because people made my expectations very low. Next up, we have 400 Souls by Ibram X. Kendi. This is a collection of essays by, I think it's like 400 authors or something like that, of different chunks over the past 400 years since the first African-American slave landed in the United States. And it's heartbreaking, but also very, very interesting. It's so much stuff that you're not taught. I had a whitewashed public school education, and there are details in this book that never got brought up to me in school, and I had a good understanding of what I thought I had a good understanding of what I didn't know, but I am quickly learning I don't know shit, and I need to continue educating myself, and this book is really good at doing that. It's just incredibly done. The audiobook is read by the authors, and it's very powerful, and it's definitely a book that I would recommend everyone, but especially those of you who had a whitewashed public education like I did, or a private education, or just whitewashed in general, an American education. It's a very important read, and something that I think should be incorporated more into everyone's reading lists because it teaches you a lot. Next up, we have The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I am one of the many people who loved this book. This is adult middle grade. It's like a hug. It's beautifully well done. It's heartbreaking at moments, and then just so warm in others. It gives you hope, weirdly. It's just incredibly done. It is about our main character, Linus, who is in charge of checking out the home for extraordinary creatures, and he is very good at his job. He always goes, and he's very by the book, and he is sent to this particular home that has some crazy children, some crazy creatures that are designated as dangerous, and that they feel the home is not being run correctly, and that the owner of the home, the person in charge of the home, is not raising the children or doing what needs to be done. He's not doing it by the book. So they send Linus, and Linus basically falls in love with everybody at this home, and I loved it so much. It was so nice, and I want to read it again. Like, I just feel like it's a good winter book in the way that it's just like a warm hug. I read this when it was snowing. I distinctly remember that, and I just loved this book. I'm not even a big middle grade reader, but this was everything. I'm looking at Under the Whispering Door. I'm a little worried about it because I've just heard it's meh compared to that. So we'll see. I mean, everybody said that about Malibu Rising, and it's on this list, so we'll see. Next up, we have the 2 Talia Hibbert novels that I read. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Dani Brown, but Eve Brown, actor age Eve Brown, is definitely the standout favorite of the series for me and of the year. This was just really well done. I had lower expectations because I felt like baby of the family book was going to be more annoying, kind of whiny, and instead Eve, I love Eve, she might be one of my favorites. Chloe's probably my favorite. But Eve is incredible. She is just very take charge for a girl who is painted as someone who's just been given everything. She just goes and does it. And she's like, you know what? I have to get a job because I've been cut off by my parents, so I'm gonna go and show up and decide, yeah, I'm gonna cook for this bed and breakfast that doesn't want me. I love the love story in this. I felt like it was really believable in the best way romance can be. I just believed the characters, and that's the best part about Talia for me, is she creates such memorable characters, but they're believable. Like, they're pretty, like, they're very, like, out of this world, but, like, believable. Like, Danny's super confident and, like, sure of herself, and so is Chloe in a way, and Eve is just like that as well, but in a completely different way. They're very distinct, which I love. We got all three characters in one scene here, and I love how distinct they are. I love how you can tell who's speaking before she tells you who's speaking. I just loved it so much. I would highly recommend Talia Hibbert. I would really recommend the Brown Sisters trilogy. It's incredible, and I can't wait to see what Talia does next. The Night Swim by Megan Golden. I was swept up with this book like so many others. I believe this came out in 2020 and it was like a big favorite for a lot of people. I didn't read it till this past spring and was obsessed. It took me like no time. The multimedia aspect of this with the podcast really, really works for this because it just makes it go so quick. Like, you're just speeding through it. You just want to know what the hell happened with all of the different cases talked about. It was so good, and I want to read more Megan Golden. This is about a podcaster who solves cold cases, basically. She is currently doing her first active case, like the trial is happening, and she's in the town, and she's reporting back on the facts of the case. Lots of divisiveness about this case in this town. It's a very small town, and they have their ideas of what actually happened. At the same time, she's being reached out to by an anonymous person who wants her to look into a case from years ago. They believe that it was not an accident as it was ruled, and she starts getting sucked into that as well. So good. So good. Really well done. I want to read this again. It's just one of those thrillers that I feel like I could read again and get a lot out of. Just genuinely a good, well-written thriller. And then we have The Singing Hills Cycle by Neve O. So I read both installments of this series that are out. It is a series of novellas, and y'all, these are so good. Like, I would not say that I am a fantasy person. So we have the Empress of Salt and Fortune and When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain. This is a fantasy series that follows a storyteller who is collecting stories, and their job is to collect stories and pass them on or bring them back. And there is a running theme of just different things. I need to reread them before the third one comes out because it's all kind of blurry. I just remember absolutely loving these. The second one, they're literally interviewing a tiger to get a story, and it is just incredible. I just wanted to know more. I just wanted to know the answers. I just wanted to understand, and I'm still waiting for the third one to come out. I believe it's coming out this year, fingers crossed. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just really, really well done fantasy novellas, and I don't even like fantasy that much, but I loved this. It's like really the art of storytelling and the love of storytelling. It's just really well done. Beautiful book. And I know I said I wasn't going to rank them, but this is almost definitely my favorite book of this year, and that is Once There Were Wolves. I don't even have words. I loved this book. I read this on a whim during the Thousand Doors readathon. I got like a paw print emoji, and I was like, I don't fucking know, I don't have a book about dogs. And I was like, wait, but I have one about wolves. It's so good. She does so much with so little. It's a thriller. It's an activist story. It's about environmentalism. It's about loss. It's about sisterhood. It is about so many things, and it's so freaking short, y'all. It's so good. It is about the near future in Scotland where they don't have wolves anymore, and they're being overrun with deer. And she's introducing wolves back into the population, and then the townspeople are like, hell no, stop that, you're gonna kill all our sheep. And then there's a murder, and she has this sister, and we're getting flashbacks in time. It's so good. I can't even describe it. I need to read Migrations. I've heard amazing things about Migrations, but this is my favorite book of the year. I would highly recommend picking this up. I recommend it to everybody. I know at the beginning of this year there was a big like thing on Instagram and Twitter about like, tell me what I should read. Every time I saw one, I put this book in because I just feel like it's not talked about and it doesn't make sense to me because it's so good. I love the writing of this just immensely. I was on board from the first page. I was like, holy shit, I just need to know the things brought up in this about just the environment and then just about like human spirit. It was incredible. I would highly recommend this book. Please pick it up. Please, if you get anything from this video, get this book. I'm begging you. But those are my favorite books that I read in 2021. I have high hopes for 2022 because I've already read some just really great books, and I have some really great ones on the TBR. I have videos coming. I'm really hoping I can come back with the consistency again. I was doing really well, and then seasonal depression knocked me on my ass, like hardcore knocked me on my ass, but I'm hoping things are looking up. I'm praying things are looking up. But thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye.